Wake up every morning with the thought that something wonderful is going to happen. A very good morning to each one of you. Today, again, I'm here in front of you to carry on with our second chapter, the end of bipolarity, from the book The World Politics, Class 12th Political Science 2020-21. Students, I'm very hopeful that you must have read the first chapter thoroughly and must have watched the video where we discussed what is Cold War, what were the effects of Cold War, and how the world got divided into two powerful blocs led by USA and USSR. So before we move on to the slide work, I'll just let you know that what do we mean by the word bipolar. The chapter says end of bipolarity. So what do we mean by bipolar? Bi means two. Alright. So bipolar means two worlds. And that is why the bipolar world would mean the world got divided into two superpower blocks. So in this chapter, we are going to study how there was an end to bipolarity and how USSR became so very important in the economic, financial and cultural events. In the military side, it was trying to tackle more of its resources in comparison with USA, but at a very heavy cost. So let's see that what all the slides contain and then I'll explain you side by side. तो आपको मतलब समझ में आ गया. Bipolar world means the world was divided into two superpower blocks. One led by USA, another led by USSR. USSR का मतलब Soviet Republic और USA का मतलब America, the Western countries. ठीक है? So let's move on to our first slide. The overview. So let us see what the NCERT contains. It says the Berlin Wall, which had been built at the height of the Cold War, you remember, and was the greatest symbol, was toppled by the people in 1989. Then this dramatic event was followed by an equally dramatic and historical chain of events that led to the collapse of the Second World and the end of the Cold War. तो ये हम previous chapter में पढ़ चुके हैं कि कैसे Second World War के बाद कोल्ड वॉर का एस्टैब्लिशमेंट शुरू हुआ था. दैट इज द एंड ऑफ द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर वाज द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द कोल्ड वॉर. सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर के खत्म होते ही एक टेंशन का एटमॉस्फेयर शुरू हो गया था बिटवीन टू सुपर पावर्स. वन लेड बाय यूएसएसआर, दैट इज सोवियत रिपब्लिक, अनदर लेड बाय अमेरिका, दैट इज यूएसए, जिनको हम वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज भी बोलते हैं. तो आपको क्या याद रखना है? द एंड ऑफ द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर इज द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द कोल्ड वॉर. तब हमारा जो वर्ल्ड है वो दो सुपर पावर्स में डिवाइड हो गया था. वन लेड बाय यूएसएसआर, अनदर लेड बाय यूएसए. और हमने ये भी पढ़ा था लास्ट चैप्टर में that India was one of the prime members which did not join any of the superpowers. इंडिया ने बहुत सी ऐसी कंट्रीज को एनकरेज भी किया था कि आप किसी भी सुपर पावर को ज्वाइन मत करो, सो दैट दे कैन बिकम इंडिपेंडेंट इन देयर फॉरेन पॉलिसी. और इन कंट्रीज को हम क्या बोलते हैं? थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज. वो कंट्रीज जिन्होंने किसी भी सुपर पावर को ज्वाइन नहीं किया था, जिन्होंने किसी भी सुपर कैंप को ज्वाइन नहीं किया था, दे गॉट टू बी नोन एज थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज, और इंडिया वॉज वन ऑफ इट्स प्राइम मेंबर्स. तो आज हम इस चैप्टर में पढ़ेंगे दैट हाउ द बाइपोलर वर्ल्ड केम इनटू एंड. दैट मीन्स ये जो बाइपोलर सिस्टम चल रहा था यूएसए और यूएसएसआर के बीच में, ये जो कोल्ड वॉर, टेंशन और राइवलरीज चल रही थी, how it started declining, how it started reducing. Okay, bipolar मतलब two worlds. The world got divided into two. But इस chapter में हम पढ़ेंगे how come there was an end to bipolarity. The Soviet Union stood by as the Cold War began to end. तो जैसे जैसे Cold War खत्म होता गया, Soviet Union और strong होता गया. Not by military means, but as a result of mass actions by ordinary men and women. Eventually, the Soviet Union itself disintegrated. तो सोवियत यूनियन तो डिसइंटीग्रेट हो गया क्योंकि वहां के लोग फ्रीडम चाहते थे, वहां के लोग ऐसी सोसाइटी चाहते थे जो इक्वालिटी पर बेस्ड हो। ओके, तो जैसे जैसे कोल्ड वॉर खत्म होता गया, जो यूएसएसआर है उसका एस्टैब्लिशमेंट होता गया। यूएसएसआर दैट इज यूनियन ऑफ सोवियत सोशलिस्ट रिपब्लिक। ओके, तो उसका एस्टैब्लिशमेंट कब हुआ? 1917 में। और उसका एस्टैब्लिशमेंट होते ही वहां पे एक ऐसी सोसाइटी बनी जो कि किन प्रिंसिपल्स पे बेस्ड थी? प्रिंसिपल ऑफ सोशलिज्म, दैट इज प्रिंसिपल ऑफ equality that was opposed to the capitalist model. Students, in order to understand what I am talking, you need to be very clear about what is socialism, what is capitalism. तो अगर आप मेरे previous videos देखोगे, if you will watch my previous videos, I have discussed all these terms with you, that what is capitalism, what is socialism. Alright, so I am talking here that how with the end of the Cold War, Soviet system started gaining importance. How USSR was established. USSR का मतलब Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, that was established in 1917. So now USSR was trying to compete with USA. तो वो बहुत compete कर रहा था अपने military alliances में, अपने cultural events में, अपने economic और financial aspects में, but at a very heavy cost. Why? Because we all know that America is one of the developed countries even at that time. So we'll move on to our next slide. It says what was Soviet system. It is very important to remember what was Soviet system. Soviet system से हम क्या समझते हैं? Soviet system का मतलब एक ऐसी सोसाइटी जहां पे लोग चाहते थे कि सोसाइटी is based on the principles of equality. Okay, egalitarian society. Egalitarian society का मतलब principles of equality. I'm just reading a little from the slide. It says the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, that is USSR, came into being after the Soviet Revolution in Russia in 1917. आपको बहुत अच्छे से ये याद करना है that when did USSR establish? It established in the year 1917. USSR का full form क्या है? Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. Now the revolution was inspired by the ideals of socialism. Socialism means a society that is based on social welfare of the people, that is opposed to capitalism. Okay, that is opposed to privatization. तो इसमें हम ऐसे प्रिंसिपल्स पे बेस्ड सोसाइटी चाहते थे वहां के लोग जो कि इक्वालिटी पर बेस्ड हो, जिसमें उनका वेलफेयर हो सके. So the revolution was inspired by the ideals of socialism and was opposed to capitalism. See, logically आप इसको पढ़िए तो it's very easy to remember that egalitarian society means a society that is based on equality. और जो सोसाइटी इक्वालिटी पे बेस्ड होती है that means it is inspired by the principles of socialism. और वैसी सोसाइटी किससे अपोज्ड होगी? It will be opposed to capitalism and the need of an egalitarian society. This was perhaps the biggest attempt in the human history to abolish the institution of private property and consciously design a society based on the principles of equality. तो अगर हम human history में देखें तो socialist society, the establishment of USSR was one of the historical events in order to establish a society where the people get equality, which was opposed to the principles of capitalism, which was opposed to the principles of private ownership. यहाँ पे सिर्फ private welfare हमें नहीं देखना था. People wanted welfare of the general mass, of the masses, of the entire society. Now the Soviet political system centered around the Communist Party and no other political party or opposition was allowed. The economy was planned and controlled by the state. तो state ने ही उसकी economy को control किया और बहुत ही planned तरीके से चलाया in order to compare it, in order to challenge the US economy. I'm moving on to the next slide. After the Second World War, the East European countries that the Soviet army had liberated from the fascist forces came under the control of USSR. So this is how USSR started gaining importance. This group of countries was called as was called the second world or the socialist bloc. तो ये countries को बोला जाता था socialist bloc. The Warsaw Pact, the military alliance, held them together. The USSR was the leader of the bloc. I think I discussed the Warsaw Pact in the video of the previous chapter, if you remember, that the countries which were held together by the Soviet Union were called as the Warsaw Pact. Okay, the Soviet Union became a great power after the Second World War. The Soviet economy was then more developed than the rest of the world. तो आपको क्या याद रखना है? That the Soviet economy was well developed now, and now it became very powerful in comparison to the rest of the world. But it had a complex communication network, vast energy resources including oil, iron, steel, machinery production, and a transport sector that connected its remotest areas with efficiency. That means that it was developing every now and then. Whether it was military, whether it was like telecommunication, whether it was networking, whether it was science and technology, it started developing in comparison to the rest of the world. And the rest of the world was completely in awe. It was completely in wonder कि ये हो क्या गया? How did USSR became so important and how it is starting developing? So it gave a very tough competition to America. So we will see how it gave a tough competition and did it lack in something or not. Moving on to our next slide. It had a domestic consumer industry that produced everything from pins to cars, though their quality did not match to that of the Western capitalist mode of production. So here, students, I would like to tell you one thing, that though USSR was trying hard to compete with America, but when you consider the quality production, then it was not that good in comparison to the Western bloc, because they did not match in quality with the American countries. But when you talk about the quantity, they started producing everything from pins to the biggest of the productions that could have been done. Okay, so you can say that the Soviet Union, which was almost nothing before the Second World War, became everything and it started competing like anything. जैसे हम कहते हैं ना किसके लिए, कुछ ऐसे लोगों के लिए जो एकदम बहुत ही poor conditions में रहते थे, but suddenly they became rich. Okay, हम कहते हैं ना from rags to riches. Alright, so something like that happened with USSR. Then Soviet state ensured the minimum standard of living to all its citizens. It is something very commendable, something very remarkable that you need to remember, that USSR का जो economy है वो इतना अच्छा हो गया that a minimum standard of living was given to everybody, every family, and poverty levels started declining like anything. Alright, then the government subsidized basic necessities including health, education, childcare and other welfare schemes. देखिए जो कुछ भी हमारी essential चीजें होती हैं जैसे कि health, education, childcare etc. तो गवर्नमेंट ने इस पे सब्सिडीज देनी शुरू कर दी और इसलिए जो मिनिमम स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग है हर फैमिली का वो बहुत अच्छा होने लग पड़ा. लेकिन अगर हम क्वालिटी प्रोडक्शन की बात करें तो अभी भी यूएसएसआर वाज लाइक वेरी लो इन कंपैरिजन टू द अमेरिकन ब्लॉक. ओके, द सोवियत सिस्टम हाउएवर बिकेम ब्यूरोक्रेटिक. अब ये जो मैं पढ़ रही हूँ ये इसके डीमेरिट्स हैं एक तरह से. मेरिट्स में हमने क्या पढ़ा, दैट देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ क्वांटिटी प्रोडक्शन फ्रॉम पिन टू एवरीथिंग दे प्रोड्यूस्ड and the economy was growing like anything. उसका एक दूसरा merit है that minimum standard of living was given to all the people and the people were happy. Why? Because you know it was based on the principles of equality. Private ownership कम होती चली जा रही थी. But अगर हम demerits consider करें, so you know the economy became little bureaucratic. Bureaucratic मतलब अपना ही चलाती थी, अपना राज चलाना, अपनी बात कहना, and लोगों की थोड़ी कम सुना करती थी. So that is why it became bureaucratic. Okay, authoritarian and making life difficult for its citizens. तो वहाँ के लोग सिर्फ इस बात से खुश नहीं थे. Why? Because they did not have major say in the government. They could not say their rulers that what they want and what they did not want. The rulers did what they wanted to do. Okay. Lack of democracy and absence of freedom of speech. stifted the people who often express their dissent in jokes and cartoons. जब भी मैं कैरिकेचर्स पढ़ाती हूँ स्टूडेंट्स, तो अगर आपने मेरे वीडियोस को बहुत अच्छे से देखा हो, सो आई ऑलवेज से दैट यू नो व्हेनेवर अ कार्टून इज ड्रॉन बाय ऑफ अ पॉलिटिशियन और अ पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम, तो वो बहुत कुछ कन्वे करता है, वो बहुत ही मिमिक्री करता है कई बार, और कई बार हमें ऐसा फनिंगली कुछ कन्वे कर जाता है जो कि हम अपने मुंह से डायरेक्टली नहीं कह पाते, है ना. सो हियर इट सेज दैट व्हेनेवर लाइक व्हेन द सिचुएशन बिकेम सच दैट द सिटीजंस वांटेड डेमोक्रेसी, उनके पास पावर ऑफ स्पीच नहीं था, पावर ऑफ एक्सप्रेशन नहीं था, वो जो कुछ चाहते थे वो अपने रूलर्स को बोल नहीं पाते थे, गवर्नमेंट को कन्वे नहीं कर पाते थे, तो ऑटोमेटिकली दे फेल्ट दैट डेमोक्रेसी होना चाहिए, पावर ऑफ स्पीच होना चाहिए, एक्सप्रेशन होना चाहिए. तो वो कार्टून्स के थ्रू या फिर यू नो कभी कुछ क्लिपिंग्स के थ्रू, कभी कुछ स्लोगन्स के थ्रू किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में गवर्नमेंट को ये कन्वे कर देते थे दैट दे वांटेड डेमोक्रेसी, दे वांटेड मोर ऑफ पॉलिटिकल पावर्स इन देयर हैंड, दे वांटेड अ से इन द गवर्नमेंट. ऑलराइट, सो मूविंग ऑन टू आवर नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. Most of the institutions of Soviet state needed reform. तो एक रिफॉर्मेशन की जरूरत थी, you know, reformation that is change, and change is the spice of life. हर किसी को एक change की जरूरत होती है, yes or no? Change is ultimate. तो चेंज बहुत इजी नहीं होता, बट whenever we change for the good. So the people wanted change. Why? Because though the things were going on fine, but they did not have a very good say in the government. The party refused to recognize the urge of the people in the 15 different republics that formed Soviet Union to manage their own affairs, including their cultural affairs. तो गवर्नमेंट बहुत ज्यादा राइट्स नहीं देना चाहती थी लोगों को, so that the people did not get involved in the decision making process. On paper, Russia was only one of the 15 republics that together constituted the USSR, but in reality, Russia dominated everything. जैसे बोलते हैं ना कि थ्योरी और प्रैक्टिस में कई बार बहुत डिफरेंस होता है. So maybe in theory, रशिया एक मेंबर था, बट अगर प्रैक्टिस में देखा जाए तो रशिया के पास सारे पावर्स थे, सारे डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस थे. So it was like trying to have an ownership on the rest of the states. Then Soviet Union lagged behind West in technology, in infrastructure, that is transport, power, and most importantly in fulfilling the political or economic aspirations of the citizens. तो USSR बहुत अच्छी तरीके से compete कर रहा था वेस्ट को, अमेरिका को, USA को, लेकिन कहाँ पे lag behind कर रहा था? एक तो लोगों का say नहीं था उसमें, people could not say anything in USSR, whereas in USA people had full right to say, to intervene in the government. Another thing, when we consider the quality production, then quality was not that good. Though it was able to produce in a good quantity, but the quality of the production was not able to match the quality of production in USA. Third thing, when we compare technology, infrastructure, जैसे कि transport वगैरह, तब भी अगर हम देखें तो USSR was not able to compete much with America. Okay. Though wages continued to grow, productivity and technology fell considerably behind that of the West, and food imports increased every year. The Soviet economy was faltering in the late 1970s and became stagnant. So it always happens, you know, that when the people are satisfied with the government, then the government also grows, the country also grows, the economy also grows, and absolutely the national wealth will grow. Okay, when the GDP of a country will increase, then the national wealth will also increase. लेकिन अगर लोग ही खुश नहीं है उस कंट्री के, तो बहुत दिनों तक वो इकोनॉमी ग्रो नहीं कर पाएगी. और कुछ ऐसा ही हुआ USSR के साथ. Though it was developing, though it started on a very good mode. Why? Because it was trying to compete with West. But कुछ उसके बहुत ड्रॉबैक्स भी थे. एक जो फर्स्ट ड्रॉबैक है वो ये दैट जो लोग हैं वहाँ के वो सेटिस्फाइड नहीं थे, वो डेमोक्रेसी चाहते थे, वो पब्लिक ओपिनियन चाहते थे जो कि उनको नहीं दिया गया. सेकेंडली जो क्वालिटी प्रोडक्शन था वो मैच नहीं हो पा रहा था वेस्ट की कंट्रीज के साथ. क्वांटिटी तो बनती जा रही थी, प्रोडक्शन तो होता जा रहा था, बट क्वालिटी मैच नहीं हो पा रहा था. थर्ड थिंग, कुछ ऐसी फैक्टर्स थे जैसे कि ट्रांसपोर्ट या कम्युनिकेशन या फिर टेक्नोलॉजी जहाँ पे यूएसएस से कम्पीट नहीं कर पा रहा था. तो एक टाइम आया जब यूएसएसआर की इकोनॉमी जो है वो क्या हो गई, स्टैग्नेंट हो गई. एंड this is what we mean by end of bipolarity. That is, अब ये वर्ल्ड को पता चलने लग पड़ा कि यूएसएसआर और यूएसए एक ही फोरम पे स्टैंड नहीं करते, एक कम है एक ज्यादा है, एक ज्यादा पावरफुल है एक कम पावरफुल होता जा रहा है, एक की क्वालिटी बढ़ती जा रही है एक की क्वालिटी कम होती जा रही है, एक के सिटीजन्स उससे खुश हैं एक के सिटीजन्स उससे नहीं खुश हैं, एक के यहाँ पॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो अच्छा होता जा रहा है जैसे कि वेस्ट में, लेकिन यूएसएसआर में पॉलिटिकल सिनेरियो गिरता जा रहा है क्योंकि वहां के सिटीजन्स खुश नहीं हैं, वो डेमोक्रेसी चाहते हैं, वो पब्लिक ओपिनियन चाहते हैं. सो दिस is what we mean by end of bipolarity. यानी कि अब लोगों को पता चला that the world will no longer be divided into two power blocks. यूएसएसआर और यूएसए एक जैसे नहीं है, वो दोनों एक ही बराबर पावरफुल नहीं है. यूएसएसआर कम हो रहा है और यूएसए बढ़ता जा रहा है अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी में, साइंस में, अपने क्वालिटी प्रोडक्शन में, अपने सिटीजन्स को इन्वॉल्व कर रहा है, पब्लिक ओपिनियन ले रहा है. उसी स्टेज पे यूएसएसआर का क्वालिटी प्रोडक्शन गिरता जा रहा है. इकोनॉमी जरूर ग्रो हो रही है, मिनिमम लेवल ऑफ इनकम जरूर हो रहा है, बट लोग खुश नहीं हैं. क्यों खुश नहीं है? क्योंकि उनको गवर्नमेंट में से नहीं मिल रहा, वो कुछ कह नहीं पा रहे और उनका क्वालिटी गिरता जा रहा है. टेक्नोलॉजी और ट्रांसपोर्ट में अभी भी वो बहुत पीछे था वेस्ट से. सो दिस इज what we mean by the end of bipolarity, and this is what we are going to study in this chapter. I am very hopeful that in this video you must have got to know that what do we mean by the end of bipolarity. Bipolarity means the world got divided into two power blocks, जो हमने पिछले चैप्टर में पढ़ा था. The end of bipolarity means the deterioration of USSR and the encouragement to USA for a growing economy. I hope you must have understood everything. For any of the queries, you are free to contact me anytime. Stay tuned and do drop your comments if you have any. Thank you so much.